Hi, my name's George Lucas, MD and founder of the ASX-listed company Raise Invest, a micro-investing platform. And these are my biggest lessons. The first lesson I'd like to talk about today is think big and think global. Thinking 10 times larger doesn't mean 10 times the amount of work. So success is all linked to execution. It's 95% execution and 5% inspiration. And this concept of thinking big doesn't mean you're going to do the same amount of work, and you're going to use the lessons that you've learned in smaller markets to improve when you move into these larger markets. My next lesson is that management of teams is about discipline and focus. And you know what? This is not really a big surprise, as discipline and focus creates success across a lot of areas from sports to business. But keeping teams focused on doing a small task and completing a small task can be very difficult. And it's all about doing small tasks and breaking down a larger task into small tasks, taking one step after another and moving forward rather than jumping around. It also provides an ability for lessons learned from mistakes to be incorporated very quickly back into the bigger task that you're trying to achieve. And it's a lot harder done than, just sitting here and saying, you have to keep teams disciplined and focused. And it's also made a lot more difficult when you're going across countries and multi-cultures, where every culture has a different concept of discipline and focus. But once you crack that key, it helps managing teams and achieving things a lot easier. The next lesson I'd like to talk to is more of a personal one for me. It was more about overcoming a challenge that I had, and learning about people's expectations and being able to understand what the performance expectations of people should be. And this is very personal to me. I was very lucky. I have a near photographic memory. If you show me a whole set of large numbers, I can see patterns and work out the patterns usually, or the formulas, usually in my head without even using a computer. And that may be very valuable at a young age to investment banks in London. But it also meant I worked quite a lot alone, and so I didn't really have to interact with people. And this may seem quite surprising when I say it out aloud, but I actually just thought for a lot of my life that most people had photographic memories and could analyze large number sets. And as I became more of a team leader and a leader, I began to realize that everyone has different abilities, and their abilities are not anywhere near like my abilities. And you still have to respect those abilities. It's a team. There's a position on the team, and every position is important, whether it's the CEO or the cleaner. And that was a lesson that I still learn today, and I still have to do a lot of work in managing my expectations to make sure that I build a team that delivers for the company. I think another important lesson I learned is breaking the mold, doing things differently. I come from a FinTech industry, and so the lesson I learned about is to do things differently and to break the mold. And in finance, where I've worked most of my life, either in banking or fund management, it's a very conservative industry. It's a very traditional industry, from the regulator all the way down to third-party suppliers. And so this can create very high barriers for change. And the FinTech industry, or the industry that I'm in, is all about creating this change. And so I've had to learn a lot of lessons about communicating your vision so that you can take your partners, the regulator, your investors along and create this change and not be afraid to do it, because it's very easy just to fall into the trap of providing a traditional financial service and saying, oh, we're a FinTech because it's delivered over a digital platform. And that's what we have tried not to do at Raise. The last lesson I'd like to talk to you about is having the right people. This is a lesson that you had heard people talk about before for a long time. And the reason why it's so important is that success is 95% about execution and 5% about inspiration. So if you don't have the right people with you, you'll fall down on that 95% hard work, which will hamper your ability to succeed in whatever industry you're trying to work in.